You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on BQN and the Fandom Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kelvin, and with me today are Amy, Christos, and Mark. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hey.
How's everyone doing today?
Good. Christos and I were off last week, so good to be back.
Yeah.
Thanks for covering
Lovely
for
to
us.
have you. Did you have fun?
Too much fun.
Yeah, what I can remember of it.
So you needed a full week to recover from it then,
Pretty much.
Did, yes. No, it was so lovely. Listeners went to visit Christos over the break. Lovely. Oh, thank you again so much. Lovely life. Met some amazing friends that you have. We got to talk and read and watch Star Trek. It was just wonderful.
Well, Mark and I steered the ship in your absence, you'll be pleased to know. So you've not come back to a disaster. We kept the wheels turning. How's your week been, Mark?
Oh, it's been great. I'm definitely feeling good. A couple weeks ago when we recorded our first installment of this communication series, Hailing Frequencies, I was sort of under the weather and a little bit not myself. So hopefully today I can be a little bit more engaging than last time.
Well, you did it well. You did well. Don't worry.
Thanks.
I don't know how everyone's coping with January. I'm very much into the dry January, no alcohol month for me, and a crazy gym routine as well. So there's not much fun going on here. It's being careful what you eat. It's not drinking. And last night I had to go and celebrate my sister-in-law's 40th birthday, it involved a night out to a nightclub sober. I don't know how people do it. I felt so out of place.
Oh, wow.
That is a lot of restraint. I am also watching what I drink, but I am not dry. I have too many birthday parties and things going on this month, but I have definitely cut back, and I am working out quite a bit. We have the Star Trek cruise coming up, and I'm trying to get off my 2022 weight and get ready for that. I think my biggest distraction is it seems like every day there's a little tidbit about Picard popping up season 3. So I am just getting more and more and more and more excited by the day for this.
Oh, hurry up, January. Be gone, be gone. February on.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Right, should we have a look at the communication logs and see if we've got any feedback for the episode last week? Our good friend Matt Harker gave us a dossier of feedback over on social media, so I'm going to paraphrase if that's okay. And this was from episode 103 with myself and Mark last week, looking at Children of Mars, the short trek. And Mark wanted to remind us that the Federation and Starfleet are not one and the same. And expecting Starfleet discipline from civilians and our children isn't to be expected. So good point, well made, Matt. Thank you very much. And he did thank us for the subject because it really prompted him to go and rewatch that short trek that he hadn't done for ages. So thanks for your feedback, Matt.
Oh, great. I didn't see that, so that's awesome. I'm glad at least we had a listener.
Yeah, those short treks really get overlooked, so it's nice to hear you talk about that.
Yeah, and here I was expecting to have a very short recording session with Kelvin last week, and well, we just kept on going, and we ended up having pretty much a full-length episode. But
Indeed.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Do any of you read Star Trek Explorer magazine? It's loaded with short stories that take place at kind of pretty much anywhere in the Star Trek universe. I just read a really cool one that's set sometime in the TNG series, probably, it mentions Alexander being a problem for Worf, so it's probably season 5 or 6 or 7, but Beverly and Worf go on a little shuttle mission. Of course, how do shuttle missions end? Always bad things happen. But it was a cute little short story. And my thought to myself was, wow, you could take any one of these short stories and it would be a short trek. Hopefully some of these little short stories will make their way. And they're written by like prolific Star Trek authors. So it's not like it's not even fan fiction for that matter.
You know, that's one thing I have been missing was these short treks. I mean, we had 2 little seasons, 2 seasons of 4. I thought, oh, how perfect. These little bite-sized stories, very episodic, but yet part of the continuation. And I wish we could get them back. I know I sound so greedy asking for more Trek when we are so blessed with so many series, but it's their fault for whetting my appetite.
Yeah. Remember, short treks, the concept originally came along to kind of buy time in between the Discovery seasons when Discovery was the only show at the time CBS All Access or Paramount Plus was airing. So that's where they came to be. And then, of course, they got to this point now where we've got, new Trek almost every week. So I guess it kind of, in their mind, erased the need for. But I think they didn't realize they created a really cool medium to tell stories in.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah.
It would have been a perfect antidote for January. Where is our new Star Trek this month?
Exactly.
On top of your dieting and exercising, there's no new Star Trek for you, Kelvin.
I know, the universe is out to get me this month. Speaking of the universe, what's been going on in the world, Mark?
Now it's time for All Good World. From Las Vegas to Boston, USA to Canada and South America, from the United Kingdom to South Africa, from Russia to Australia, the South Pacific and beyond. This is All Good World. Each episode we highlight a different location around the globe where this podcast has reached. Today's episode, we'd love to give a special shout out to our friends in India. Hey, India! Well, our fun fact for today is about language. Shocker. Tamil is an official language of the Indian state of Tamil Nadu, the sovereign nations of Sri Lanka, Singapore, and the Indian territory of Puducherry. Tamil is the oldest language still in use today. By order of appearance, the Tamil language, part of the family of the Dravidian languages, would be considered the world's oldest living language, as it is over 5,000 years old, with its first grammar book having made its first appearance in 3000 BC. This member of the Dravidian family is probably the longest surviving language in the world and is also the oldest written language. So both of those things. That's pretty amazing. That old of a language.
That is. When you said Dravidian, I was thinking Davidian from Time Zero.
And I was thinking Viridian.
Oh, Voyager.
No. Viridian 3, right? Generations.
Oh, Generations, yes.
Where a certain Enterprise saucer section apparently is still fitting.
Yes.
So previously on All Good Things, you might remember episode 102. We started our new series on exploring communication in Star Trek. And this group decided it might be a good idea to take on the entire season 4 of Discovery, which was probably a mistake because that was a lot to cover in one episode. So we split it into 2, and this is your second part of that. If you listen to part 1 of the series, you know this topic can get pretty deep and personal and sometimes political. Remember that these are just our opinions and views and are meant to provoke thought and discussion. And I hope our listeners take it that way.
Christos, so let's pick up where we left off. And I'll hand to you, Amy. This was your baby. And so let's continue with our next topic. Where are we taking it?
All right. So one thing that was just pretty darn cool and got me excited was how is Species 10C communicating with us? Let's get down to the logistics, the nitty-gritty of how are we talking to each other. And so with the hydrocarbon and the light things, like it was just so cool. And I'm like, okay, They are giving us, and they said that there were, 16 basic emotions that came through with these hydrocarbons. And so I was like, okay, they're giving us 16. How do we communicate? And so a quick Google search tells me there's 9 common types of nonverbal. So outside of the words coming out of our mouths, we have facial expressions, paralinguistics, which is your tone, your loudness, your pitch, and there's a lot involved with that. Body language, proxemics, so that's like how close you stand to each other. Eye contact, gestures, haptics, like when you touch someone, that says a lot there. Your overall appearance, what are you choosing to wear? Are you, having tattoos? Like that communicates something. And also artifacts, sending a gift, also as a way of communication, which they think they should do in Discovery. And we've seen that a lot of time in Star Trek. So we've got verbal and nonverbal. So I just want to open it up to you. How are you guys relating these nonverbal that 10C is communicating? Did they capture all of it?
I think it's a bit of a mathematical equation. If you think about it, it's a combination. How we communicate is a combination of things. It can be speech, for one, and then on top of speech, all of these 9 things that you just listed that kind of go into contact with, or into context with that. So, i.e., if you speak very flat, robotic, without emotion, we call that, tend to call that, oh, you're being very cold, you're being very standoffish and whatnot. But when we get happy or mad, we tend to get louder, and, it implies so much. That's why you see in communication now, we have a lot of miscommunication when it comes to texting, because we always say things get lost in textlation because there is a lot of these 9 things that you just mentioned here that cannot come across in a text message, other than maybe going from all caps to no caps to. That's probably the only thing you can do. Other than that, you've removed these nonverbal type of communication things, so it becomes harder, and we tend to have miscommunication. So I think it's that combination of things that really define how we speak. And if you think about how the 10C spoke, it was the combination of hydrocarbons and the light patterns, and so you have more than one of these things that we're talking about here. So I think it parallels very nicely.
So, but they kind of picked up on your point in the episode where Burnham and co go in the bubble, and they go in to initially speak to the 10C, and they say, we want to communicate a number, and they said, well, how is that going to be interpreted? There's 4 of us, there's 4. So all of those you can communicate a word, a message, but how is that to be understood? And the point you just made about text messages and emails, for example, I think maybe that's how emojis have kind of moved on into normal, informal speech, because I know I'm terrible for this, and I'm very aware that I do it all the time. I try to kind of punctuate my text with an emoji to show that I'm making a joke or I'm happy about this. And that's the light pattern to my hydrocarbon.
Oh my God,
words.
You're so spot on.
But clearly, you can't do that in an email. So if you're in work mode and you're writing very professionally, you're not going to put LOL or use a poo emoji or probably an eggplant in my face. Not in the workplace. So then you have all these other filters and fluff, as I call it, of I have to train people how to work in customer services, and you don't just go cold into your message. You put a sentence at the beginning saying I hope you are well or something, and sometimes it comes across quite disingenuous, like you don't really care. But it's important that you do that for context so people don't think you're being blunt.
Right.
Mark?
What I was thinking about is when they first start opening up a dialogue with the 10C, one of the first things they do is they essentially copy the message that the 10C has sent them, and they send it back like a mimicking, right? And what that makes me think of is when you deeply listen to somebody and you repeat back to them something that they said to you. Oh, from what I'm hearing, you were saying this. Did I understand you correctly? You repeat back to them. And so when you start doing that, like what they did with the 10C, it shows an understanding. You have reached an understanding, whether it's with somebody that speaks a whole different language or with somebody that speaks your own language, but there is an intelligence there, and you can see that the other person is at least trying to communicate with you.
Absolutely. I think they've done that in Star Trek before, where you mimic exactly the same message to show either it's not a random coincidence, there's some form of intelligence. The one that comes to mind is in Voyager, where there's the two Voyagers in deadlock and they mirror the signal so they know to lock onto each other. But I think it's been done elsewhere too. I think that's an active listening technique, what you've just described there, Mark. And I think it's either clarification or it's not paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is to say it in a different way. But yeah, it's almost summarizing or clarifying in active listening.
Yeah, it's showing understanding. It's showing that you are paying attention. And I think that's part of it, because sometimes, I literally just gave 2 lectures on Friday, training lectures at work on customer experience, and so much of it was based on communication. So I'm just kind of like smiling big over here right now as we're having this conversation, because we just really talked about email and things like that, and how you can't be short with people. You need to put some pleasantries in there to convey, some niceties and things like that. But yes, I think when you are communicating with somebody, it's showing a deep understanding when you repeat back what they say.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you brought up the emojis, because I think that sort of adds another layer now to our text that we were getting so terribly miscommunicated with, because we couldn't, see the emotion that went behind the words. And it's boiled down to 6 basic emotions, and then everything is a compound of those. Happiness, sadness, fear, surprise, disgust, and anger. So then we okay, so I'm feeling joyful. So that's a little bit of happiness and I don't know, surprise. So you're getting this little mix and match of these basic emotions. And what I find so freaking astonishing with this season is okay, we know we communicate through all those, touch and voice and da-da-da. How creative are the writers to say, okay, how can we change the way that this alien species talks to us? How would you even to come up with hydrocarbons and light? That's too crazy. But I love that it's the lights are the words, the hydrocarbon is the feeling.
Yeah. Well, it's
so cool. Christos.
Deep, really well-written science fiction, which at the end of the day is what we're all here for, right? And sometimes maybe why this season kind of stood out, or at least this part of the season, is, TV writing, movie writing, and whatnot has gotten quite, lazy. If you think back to when we've had these bigger topics, it's been like motion picture, 2001, Space Odyssey, things like that. Some of these bigger, types of science fiction where you have to think a little deeper. We always feel like Star Trek kind of goes there, but I think even for this season, it was above and beyond some of the other Treks as far as really deep, science fiction. This particular season gave me a lot of feels for the movie Arrival. There's a lot of similarities there. Yes. There's a lot of that where communication really comes down to it. And if you think about it, sometimes our idea of the universal translator in Star Trek, it's too convenient. It's so, suddenly we're talking to whoever. There it is. It's the universal translator, and we're just carrying on. Whereas it's only in New Trek have we started to explore what happens without a universal translator. We've seen that in Prodigy. We saw that in season 2 of Discovery.
Yeah, I mean, Star Trek has tried this before, where they've either had a species that's too complex for the UT, or like with Enterprise, where they thought, let's just make Hoshi an interpreter. But even that concept fell flat a little bit, and it wasn't really explored. This is just so different. It is, like you just said, top quality, imaginative science fiction. Even the light patterns and the hydrocarbons, and then combining it with the element of touch as well, like in Rosetta, where they put their hand in and they feel that emotion. So all very, very alien, which is exactly how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it, that in fact, this season wasn't really about a big baddie who wants to, tear up the Federation or harm our heroes. In fact, everything that happened was, unbeknownst to the 10C aliens. And the biggest challenge of the season was overcoming the communication gap.
So, Kelvin, when you said putting your hand in and that touch, like that reminded me when Tarina did the mind meld, right? With the species 10C. And it just randomly, I'm like, okay, so is mind meld the best way to communicate? Because you're getting this open and honest transference of not only the thoughts, but your feelings and your intention and like all of that from your brain. But then I was thinking, you still could deceive, because we have seen, like when Spock mind melded with, Sarek mind melded with Picard, and it was, let me just share this portion of you so that you can understand. But it was very specific, very direct. So if that's true and they can control the mind meld, then can't a mind meld be used as a deception and therefore not make it the most open communication in Trek?
Potentially. I mean, let's remind ourselves that would you see a devious Vulcan? So whether you can or you can't, would they do it? But there has been a lot of different displays of what a mind meld is. A lot of the time it is just the passing of a memory. Sometimes it's almost like guided meditation through reprocessing of a memory to pick up on something that that person can't initially remember. I know Tuvok did that a lot on Voyager. And again, the whole kind of the Enterprise view of the Vulcans and mind melds, of it being such a deeply intimate act, which is why it is so frowned upon back then, because you don't want to share that much of yourself. We've seen a lot of different examples. I do just want to say, though, at this point, talking about that mind meld with Tarina, why, if she could mind meld with the 10C all along, why did she only do it right at the end? She could have saved us at least 3 episodes.
Weren't they actually in the 10C, like Discovery? I almost said Voyager. Discovery was actually in the 10C, in the hyperfield. Weren't they inside the hyperfield when she did that?
Yes.
Otherwise, Tarina, at no other point did she get, in the other episodes, did she get anywhere close to the 10C or the collector that was over, closer to in the Alpha Quadrant. So it's only later when the ship was actually in the field.
This different communication question here, but wouldn't you think that if you are trying to, let's say, have a covert or secret conversation with somebody, a hallway on the middle of a busy starship would not be the best place? I'm looking at Ndoye. I mean, isn't there like a broom closet or, a bathroom she could have gone to? I mean, she's like, hold on, I need to do this secret correspondence. I know, I'll go into the hallway. Like, I don't know, that was just a little surprising.
Oh, hey, Harker, it's your girl Ndoye.
What you doing? I'm just chilling here in the middle of the hallway. It's totally private, don't worry. Anything you say is just for my ears.
Great point. And Christos, thank you for pulling me up on that mind meld. You've made me kind of temper the way I think of it, because I just saw it as Tarina having a mind meld with a window.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I cringe. I just rewatched the entire season 4. I did kind of like do a little okay when I was watching that scene, but we've seen weirder things. So yeah, they were immersed in the hyperfield.
So let's move on to the challenge, which we're going to look a little bit about Book and his role in all of this communicating with the 10C. So start us off here, Amy.
Well, I found it very interesting that at the very end in the last episode, we found 10C, we finally communicated, okay, you're destroying us, you're hurting us, you're killing us, and the 10C's, oh, we didn't know, we'll stop doing that. And then Book doesn't say, nope, that's not good enough. He pushes further. And what I love about that is when it came out, like the whole political thing, and it's like, okay, if you believe one thing and you know that it's damaging to others, is that good enough to say, oh, we're sorry? No, you should go and try to rectify, to fix the situation. It's not good enough just to say, oh, I didn't know, now I know, I'm going to stop. And Book pushes them and say, stop living in a hyperfield. And I feel like that's where we can take this as an example and apply it to our life, that it's like, yeah, I can be in my little bubble and I have everyone who, agrees with me and say, oh, that was wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll stop doing that. No, get out of your bubble and interact and try to make a change. And that's what I loved about Book's challenge to the species 10C, but to them even having a hyperfield.
Excellent thought.
I thought it was I've got a lot of issues with Book in this season and the way he was played. And, I could argue that he spent about 12 episodes of the season living in his own hyperfield of anger and revenge. That's all he was focused on. And to a point where he allowed himself to be easily manipulated, and he manipulated others. I feel like at the very end, that after everything he did, I liked those scenes where, he's at the end, he's talking about the 10C and all those things you just mentioned, Amy, because I fundamentally believe in that concept. It just felt a little short for me to have him suddenly go from the downward spiral he was in. He just kept getting in deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper all season. That line kept on moving every time for him. Things that he wouldn't do, he did. And then suddenly at the very end, he's having this, this moment of clarity where he's the moral center of everything. That actually falls a little short for me, even though the meaning of the scene was right.
But is that not almost the redemption arc of realizing everything he's done has been wrong and then turning it around? Are you saying it's not kind of the payoff wasn't enough? We've had several episodes of nonsense and then a moment of redemption. Was it not balanced
I think
enough?
It wasn't balanced enough. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think we spent 11 episodes ruining this character, and then we tried to pull him back to somebody that we care about again in the last scene. And for me, I don't know what they're going to do with Book in season 5, but they got an uphill battle for me personally, because I used to really like the character, and then I really started to hate the character as his actions got worse and worse in season 4.
Yeah. So, Mark?
I definitely understand why Christos feels the way that he does. It was, I think, an uphill battle for the viewers to stay on board with Book this season. But what I think kept me rooting for him was just, I think, maybe the backstory of the season before of him really not being able to get home often or see his brother or see his family, and missing his planet and talking about his planet so much, and he loved his planet. And then finally, at the end of last season, he was able to get home, and they had the walk around with Burnham. And just to have all of that snatched away so suddenly, and the opportunity to never go back. I mean, it was an intense violation for him And he, as somebody that comes from a species that's so empathetic, just feel so intensely for all of the beings on the planet, not just the other people, but like, those the trance worms and the birds and all of the creatures in that special tree. He mourned all of it so deeply and so intensely that I could see the justification the whole series of him just wanting no other people to go through that, and he would go through any lengths to make sure that nobody else had to feel the way that he felt or go through what he had to do. So I can get that. So for me, it's not going to be as challenging for me to have him have redemption, just because I was able to hang on, a little bit longer, I guess.
Yeah, I think I hear all points of this. I think if you look at what Book did, he stole the prototype of the spore drive, or Tarka did, but he was involved with it. It went into Book's ship, and they left in it. Fired on a Federation ship, and Book's ship fired on a Federation ship. And I know Tarka did that last volley, okay? Conspiring to sabotage the Discovery, kidnapping Reno, and then obtaining and using isolytic weapons. I mean, it's a laundry list of bad things that just kept getting worse. And so for me, it's like, we've seen our heroes do things wrong and get forgiven. Captain Kirk or Admiral Kirk steals the Enterprise to go, in Star Trek 3. And because good things became out of Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 4, he's kind of forgiven in the end. And it's all neatly wrapped up. Like I said, I just felt like those are, like, the 5 things I just listed there were in themselves all pretty bad. People could have died on Discovery from the amount of firing that it took, and I just had a hard time with it. I couldn't help but think that what's the difference between Book and Khan almost in Star Trek 2? Khan has a lot of reason to be mad himself. Kirk put him on a planet and they didn't check on him, and a lot of people died because they weren't checked up on, and he was the whole reason Star Trek 2 is revenge and anger and wanting to settle a score.
I didn't get that from Book, though. I got from Book that he was trying to prevent the 10C from being able to destroy other planets. So I didn't get the vengeance factor. There was probably an element of that, but this is not really what I read out of his actions. I read he was singularly focused on preventing it from happening from others. Now, the colleague there, the scientist,
Tarka.
He was just like, I have this lover, and I got to get back to my lover, and damn everybody else, and F this. So he was trash. The whole, I don't care. But Book, who loves Burnham so much, was willing to sacrifice his relationship with Michael, his true love, the one person he's connected with in his life, to save all of these other people on these multiple planets. So I don't know. I feel like you got to give him a little bit of a wider berth.
Having you list all these things with Book and giving him this wide berth because of his loss that he had, I feel I saw this theme of going back to this challenge. Like, how much do we accept or that we assume is benign when it really should be taken as this is an attack, or vice versa? If we think about Species 10C with the DMA, and that was destroying, obviously, Book's world. It was very catastrophic to us. And it's like, that's an attack. But then it wasn't, because they were gathering energy for their hyperfield. And then they have this liquid mercury gel hand that takes them into this hyperfield. They are taking us. Do we assume that this is, for our benefit, or do we assume that it's actually dangerous? How many times have we made this assumption that 10C is good when they, time after time, is showing bad? And I just feel like that's an important challenge to us. Like, every single time, like that DMA or having us go inside, that could be taken that is an attack against us, but yet it still wasn't. Can we view it with a different perspective. That, I feel, is the deep challenge to us individually. Kelvin?
I think a lot of this comes with the benefit of hindsight. To make that determination in the moment is very difficult. Think back to your own lives and the kind of, to use the phrase, tough love. And this might have come from a parent or some other significant relationship in your life. And at the time you thought, why are you being like that? And it was for your own benefit, either through protection or making you think of things from a different viewpoint. But at the time you reacted hostile or defensive, shall we say. The bit about the gel, I love it in Rosetta, when it all starts off very, Saru senses the coming of death, and then there's a lot more negative emotions. I know Deanna says there are no such thing as negative emotions, but what made me laugh was as soon as there was the joyful emotion, everyone was suddenly like drug addicts. They ripped off those gloves and they threw their hands straight in oh, it feels good, does it? Let me have a piece of this. So it wasn't until what was being communicated sat well with people that they actually wanted to get involved with it. So that's where the defensiveness came from, I thought. Okay, so do we think we've gone trial enough? I feel a little bit of an arbiter coming on. We've had a fabulous case for the defence there with Mark, the prosecution with Christos. Clearly, just to bring Book to an end there has been some sentencing, if you like, and he was given his community service at the end of the season, helping people clean up. Do the ends justify the means? Was he given a harsh enough sentence? Didn't seem that way to me. Seemed like he was just going off on a little diplomatic envoy mission after doing all these things. Mark, what do you think?
I just want to look at, just compare and contrast here with the very first Starfleet mutineer that essentially started a war with the Klingons that cost how many thousands of lives, that was on her way to a penal colony and then was like, nah, I'm going to go work on another ship, and then get promoted to captain. So no time served there at all. So when you compare that, I think Book's putting in the work.
And don't forget, we're bang up to date as well. We're discussing literally what happened at the end of the most recent episode of Discovery. So who knows what is going to carry through into season 5 that might, oh my God, there's going to be a huge episode and season-long arc about his guilt, isn't there? Let's face it. That's what we're going to get now from him. The guilt-ridden actions all through another 10 episodes of season 5. Okay, so Book's done. Let's close the book and move on. So in the general theme of communication, what else was going on in season 4 of Discovery? What other things were being discussed? I'd like to start off here with the amount of airtime and positive communication that's been made in regards to mental health. And we've seen the evolution of Dr. Culber's character going from physical into kind of psychological support, counselor, if you will. So do we think that it is a good thing for all of this talk of feelings in season 4 of Discovery? And also, how are we rating Dr. Culber as the counselor on the show? I'm sure Counselor Amy Nelson might have some thoughts on this.
I like Kovich much better. I wish we got more of him because I like his talking. But I can see that it's still important to have a counselor on board, especially in Discovery. So I think Culber's doing a great job. And I like that it's highlighting, which I think is good for us, that it's like, yes, it's your job to take care of others. And that's a really hard job. So to make sure that you're taking care of you first. You can't share a slice of bread if you don't have a loaf yourself. So I love that we're getting him struggling as well, because that to me, I feel is just so important. And I like the idea of us talking. To me, that's why I like Star Trek. It's the talking it out. That's exciting for me.
And are we liking the kind of the mental health side of Discovery? What do you think, Christos?
Yeah, I think it's great that mental health is front and center this season on Discovery, and even a little bit in prior seasons. Obviously, it's just really prevalent. I believe that was very intentional to mirror what the world was going through with COVID and the stress that it was putting on the population, on individuals, and isolationism, and having to stay at home, and how hard that was for some people, and all the other issues that came with it. So I think there was a lot to be said with what COVID was, and I think they wanted to write that ongoing stress to be an allegory for Species 10C, or the DMA, really, for that part, for the most of the season. And that was just a very ongoing stressful thing that you just didn't know where the DMA was going to hit first. You didn't know if your planet was going to be next. And so I like that. I like that we have a counselor on Discovery. I mean, technically, I wonder, okay, first off, is Culber the CMO? Was he ever the CMO? I don't know. But he's a medical doctor, and then suddenly he's a counselor too on top of that, which I guess it's not unheard of. It's just, I think, a little more unlikely, and I think they were trying to give the actor more to do. So they gave him this dual role as a counselor. So, I mean, we had a specific, if you look at TNG as the best example, you had Crusher and Troy, doing two completely different roles, but they've kind of now combined it into one on Discovery. So I think it's a little, it's a little convenient to have that going on. For Culber, I mean, I'm happy he's getting more screen time, to be honest with you. I think he's kind of got a raw deal. It's probably why they did this, but that's probably my only complaint, is that it's actually Culber himself, given that he has been a medical doctor up until this season, and now suddenly he's a counselor.
I want to definitely agree with Christos on that. That was a big sticking point for me this season. I think he's going to be a fantastic counselor. I like that they are giving the actor more lines, more things to do on the ship, but it's something similar to what they did with Tilly, where she's on her track to be the next captain, and oh wait, no, I really have this desire to teach at Starfleet Academy. I'm gonna go on, bye, and I feel like they do that a lot. They did it with we're 4 seasons in, and I don't know the guy's name, but the guy that was the communications officer, Bryce, he was, all of a sudden oh, hey guys, I'm going off with COVID, unexplainably why, but see you next time, bye. And there's this other guy on there. It's it's just a lot of randomness they're doing with this show that doesn't seem to make sense, from a logical standpoint. You know what I mean? From the way they've developed and built these characters, that this is what would happen. I don't know. I just feel like the characters themselves deserve more explanation, more build-up than just okay, this episode, all of a sudden now, you want to go this path, and you're gone. Okay.
Can I add another one that it's they started it and then dropped it? Adira and Detmer, I didn't understand what the heck. So we're now... Okay, so the little flirtation of, I don't know how to speak to Detmer, and just, we'll tell her, wish her to fly well, or, and then it's that awkwardness, and I'm okay, but I thought Adira was with Gray. I don't know, maybe I'm being too close-minded, but I just didn't see any initial flirtation, or are they just trying to be friends, or then am I being not progressive enough? I don't know. Please explain it. What are your thoughts? I just didn't know what to do. All right.
Well, I'd be glad to hear what Mark and Kelvin think of this. I didn't necessarily think it was romantic. I thought it was more like the way Tilly looked up to Stamets, and Stamets was kind of, didn't in the beginning in season 1 was always kind of oh, you're annoying me. And Tilly was kind of, I always look at it I look up to you. And I might be wrong about that. I think you're right. The whole Adira and all of that was so messy. I mean, even Gray, we waited forever to get Gray a body, and the minute they get a body, they're off the ship.
Yeah.
Like, kind of a trill, you know? I felt like there were some things that weren't handled as well. They call it the B plot, the C plots, and whatnot of the season. That just, I think you're spot on, Amy. They could have been handled better. Yeah, I think you always have to remember too. Adira's supposed to just be a teenager, right? And same thing with Tilly. I mean, if you look at Tilly in terms of age, she was just a cadet in season 1, and over the course of 4 years, now like suddenly she was first officer for a little while there, and now she's not sure she want to be a captain. Well, even if she was out of the academy at 22, it took me a long time in my career till I got to that point where I went from being the newbie, the young person, to being a mentor, to training people, to getting up and leading classes where I would say I would want to do that.
But that could be looked at as a positive thing, because receiving a message from someone who you can identify more as a peer, whether it's an age difference or just an experiential difference, might make Tilly have more gravitas with the cadets, because they still see her as one of them rather than a grumpy old person.
Tag on to what you were saying. I know in my work experience, I found that people that I guess are put in charge of scenarios that really don't have a lot more experience than I do or other people, I tend to sort of, I guess, not trust that what they're saying is the be-all and end-all smartest thing. I keep an open mind, obviously, and I go, well, if they're put in charge, like, I'll go along with it, but I definitely try more to see, okay, well, maybe we could do this, or maybe we could do that. But if somebody is coming at me with a whole bunch of experience under their belt and put in charge of a situation, then I'm like, well, they probably know, let's do that thing, right?
Yeah. So all these characters are throwing themselves into situations that are literally life and death. But then if you look at Saru, matters of the human heart, he would rather risk his life on a mission than take a risk and become heartbroken, which is weird when you think about it. There may have been times in our own life where there's been a bit of unrequited love, or you've misread the signals, or you've run away from something because you've just not wanted to take that risk. So Amy, what do you think? Do you think it added to season 4 to have that heart when everything was so dire?
Yes, it did. And it shows you that love can exist in any situation, right? It just pops up at the random time. And I, too, love the Saru and Tarina. I love their dynamics. And I love that Saru had to go to Burnham, and she sort of was their translator. Well, Vulcans feel this way, so she's probably saying this. Like, they're communicating about it. It just was wonderful. And I want to see more of Tarina. And I love female Vulcans, too. Like, T'Pring, Strange New Worlds, get me out. I love her. So, Kelvin, school us all. Tell us how it really is with your beautiful relationship with James.
There's my book will be hitting stores in 2023. Right, final thoughts, guys. What do we think? Discovery Season 4 Communication Studies. Mark, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Well, we got through it.
The two-part
He's
podcast
like,
or the season
on communication,
4?
I have no words.
I don't know. Hey, listen. I think it was an important topic to cover. I know the listeners loved it. We got a lot of feedback on episode 1. I think we'll get a lot more on episode 2, so that's great. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. For me personally, do I appreciate season 4 anymore? Do I appreciate... Nah, not really. But, but I did it, and I watched more episodes this morning of season 4 just to prepare. But, yeah, I'm still not sold. But that's okay. We're not all going to love it. I know Christos jumps on and sometimes talks about the original series, and it's not his favorite. Discovery Season 4 is not mine, but I got through it, and we're done.
So, conversation done. How about you, Christos? How are you reflecting on Discovery Season 4? You went out and bought a new Blu-ray. You must be up for it.
I did. I did buy the Blu-ray, and like I said, I also check out the special features. But what I found, I really enjoyed my rewatch of Season 4. First off, I binged the whole season over probably about 5 days, maybe 5 or 6 days. And taking the episodes in one after another, it's so much more cohesive than trying to watch them week to week as they were dropping a year or so ago. So I would recommend that if anybody is up for it, binge the season. Like try to watch it over the course of a week or so or less, and I think it presents a lot better than it did initially. And of course, I love a lot of Season 4. I have my issues, which we've discussed over the last 2 episodes with this, but overall, I really enjoyed the season and would recommend it.
Wonderful. And Amy, you started off the passion for this conversation with communication. So clearly, we probably know how you feel. But how are you feeling after we've discussed it at length in this 2-parter?
Yeah, I am so grateful for all of you. Mark, I know especially you. This is a trial, but I feel like the discussion has been so good and that we can pull the themes. And it's sort of what we have to do with the way that it's being told is storytelling nowadays in the big, long season. And like we can look at a topic or say like communication, and we can go to Classic Trek and say, all right, Darmok, this is one episode. It's going to be talking about communication. And we can have this discussion on one episode. But with Discovery, you really do need to watch the entire season, like you were saying, Christos, and pull the themes out. And there are a lot of other themes outside of communication that's in Season 4 that we could have just as much, length and discussion and quality communication about, because there's so many themes within one season. So I appreciate that we got the time to just look at this one theme that happens to be my favorite theme, and why this Season 4 of Discovery is my favorite season out of Discovery. Like it is, and it's that theme, and I'm just so grateful that we had this conversation. So thank you for indulging me on my little fun Season 4 Discovery.
Thank you, Amy. And okay, so Mark, we're done. Where are we going next? Why don't you give us a tease on what next week's episode is looking like, much to your great relief?
I know, it's like a breath of fresh air in comparison. Although last week was fun too. I liked our little short Trek discussion. But next week, we are going to continue with our Get Off My Ship series with the Enterprise episode Acquisition. If you guys remember, it was the episode where we had the Ferengi on Enterprise. Now, of course, we were first introduced on TNG, and so technically in canon, the Federation has no idea who the Ferengi are. So they're this sort of unknown species that takes control of the Enterprise and tries to, I guess, rob them blind. And so for me, I always really liked this episode. It was fun seeing them again on Enterprise. I liked the hijinks of it all. And I love these kind of one-off episodes where the crew sort of has to fight back and regain control of the ship. There's some really fun episodes that do that.
Wonderful. Something to look forward to. We would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also tweet your thoughts with @AllGoodPod. Please follow the network on Twitter and Instagram at BQN Podcasts. We've also partnered with our friends at Fandom Podcast Network, where you can find us by searching the master feed. So, Amy, where can people find you when you're not decoding complex hydrocarbons?
Oh, my favorite. Well, you can find me here on the network where I'm co-hosting Union Federation and Galaxy class. I am on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, but my favorite place right there in our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. And Christos, where can people find you when you're sending out light signals from
you can
San Diego?
Yes. You can find me in the BQN Collective as well on Facebook, as well as on Instagram, Twitter, and at Greek Geek SD. And you can also find me on my other podcast, What's the T-Bev, here on the BQN. Mark, where can people find you when you're not stealing experimental spore drives?
Well, when I'm not doing that, people can find me in the Facebook group, the BQN Collective. They can also find me on Twitter at MarkWhite207. They can find me if they become a patron of the network on Patreon, where I host a show called It's Green, and you guys might like that. So, Kelvin, where can people find you when you are not shipping Saru and Trina?
When I'm not doing that, you can find me on the Facebook group, the BQN Collective, and on good old Twitter and Instagram at Kelvin's Timeline. Please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts to leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcast with our master feed by searching BQN. That way, you won't miss any of our fine shows like Union Federation, Galaxy Class, History with the Szilagys, Infinite Diversity, Mickey's Marvels, Sasquatch, What's the T-Bev, and Trexpert's Quiz.
At this time, we would like to thank our associate producer, Mahendran Radhakrishnan and Tim Cooper. A special thanks to Graham Kelly for our opening and closing music, and Mark White for our artwork each and every week.
If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. We'll add you to the Hive Mind Facebook group so you can enjoy It's Green, Amy's Math Moments, and other network perks like special Trexperts quizzes that come out just for the patrons. With a monthly subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings on the Hive Mind Roundtable discussion on the second Saturday of each month. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you'll join us as we search out
all good things.